souvenirs. However, you'll see things that people haven't picked up yet. I am maintaining a list. If you see something that doesn't have an auction number and is still here, for instance, on the fountain, you see that yellow sticker? If it has a red name on it, a red number on it, that means it was sold. If you see something with just a black number or one number, it means it's still available. And I'll take names and emails and phone numbers if you're interested. We need about 4 more days to organize everything to make sure everybody picks up.
All the shells.
Oh,
Oh, this is what I always take a picture of outside.
yeah.
We'll come back.
We're gonna, I put out a few things which lady can have some of the original catalogs, biography from Battle Creek, Michigan Public Library. Some of his original things, which story of Kellogg's. Also, for those who didn't know, as you always like Cracker Jacks, you always got a little prize in. Mr. Kellogg's, W.K. Kellogg's, that brother we're talking about. For many, many years, he was avid reader and education was his. As a matter of fact, his foundation in Battle Creek is all about education and reading. Every year, he would put an alphabet animal book in his Kellogg's cornflakes. And this is one of the original 1914 Kellogg's alphabet books, and you're welcome to look at it later on. I wanted to show you all, again, as I said, this building originally built in 1927 by a man, not Kellogg's, by this gentleman on the left-hand side of this image, known as W.S. Friscorn. In 1927, he came here from Detroit, Michigan. Mr. Friscorn was well known in Detroit, Michigan as a developer, sold many, many homes in Detroit, very popular and had done very well with himself. He heard about the Florida land boom, and he bought all the property from here, waterfront, to San Christopher, to the golf course. His goal, now at that time, 1927, our population was a little over 1,400 people. His goal was to build homes very similar to, this was his home and a show home. And his goal was to build homes all over this area, build the golf course, which he helped do, and build enough homes that he would raise the population to over 20,000 people. If he was that successful, he bought that island and 2 other islands and we're going to expand them and actually build homes on expanded islands. That was his ultimate goal. One island would be a golf course and the other one would be more Spanish Mediterranean homes. Had a big vision. Unfortunately, in 1929, the stock market came and it just totaled them out. He had brought hundreds of people from Detroit by railroad cars, and they come here, they stay at the Fenway Hotel. He put them up, spent a lot of money, built this home. 1930, he foreclosed. He went bankrupt. The Depression and the Florida land boom was over, and he made hardly anything. So everything went for sale. The city took over the golf course, and if you go to San Christopher, Rowena, San Jose Drive, you'll see 6 or 7 of the original prototype models that are owned by the families now. And those were some of his model homes in different areas. And in our library, we have a lot of photos of the development of Dunedin Isles before and after Friscorn left. But you'll see the one model and nothing else on San Jose Drive but the one house. And, you know, he built the roads, he built the plots, he built 5 or 6 prototypes in the area, and that's as far as he got. And so people bought up the lands, Mr. Skinner, and did that. Matter of fact, Skinner, which is not the Skinner of concentrate plant here, but Skinner, which was a cousin in Tampa, was the architect of this. Many people, if you're familiar with architectural history, thought George Meisner. Meisner was an architect, especially known in Miami, West Palm Beach, for Spanish Mediterranean homes. He built all the very wealthy homes in West Palm Beach and Miami. And they not too different than the look of these. If you go to look at the homes today that are on Rowena, some are green, some are yellow, But this right now, the Kellogg's mansion, is pretty much the standard color of what Spanish Mediterranean homes looked like at that time. Matter of fact, the Mainsail company that owns the Fenway approached the museum and asked, can we have color scales? They wanted to paint it very, so the color you see on the Fenway is very close as to what it was built like at that time in 1920s to look the Spanish Mediterranean style. So, Frischkorn was a modest man. He had one daughter, his wife and him. They moved in here, worked from here. He also had an office. If you're familiar with Dunedin, as I said, downtown where the Chamber of Commerce building was, there was a building next door to that. That was his office downtown. He also had a main branch office in Clearwater off of Fort Harrison. He was good friends with Ed Haley, who was the owner of the Fort Harrison Hotel. So they became friends, and Ed Haley co-sponsored the office in Fort Harrison. So Frischkorn, and again, his main company was in Detroit, Michigan. So he did that, but he went bust. In 1930, Mr. Axel Smith bought the mansion at a reduced price, and my president, hold that thought, my president, Blair Cooey, our president, folks, is pointing his finger at me.
Oh, so much is going on. I mean, our heads are.
The pressure is intense. He needs me for 20 seconds.
Yeah, really, maybe 30.
Look around the room, but don't go in any other room yet.
All right then. Right, and some are. And the windows, the door. I know. That's where all of those.
So you're here.
Okay, I'm back. Don't everybody leave. Come on back. I want to show you photos. As I said, the Albert foreclosed too in 1934. At that time, Mr. Kellogg's owned several homes. One in Battle Creek, Michigan, and a winter home at that point in California, in Pomona. I don't know if anyone's from California, kind of central California, Pomona, California. Today it's known as Pomona College. It was his winter resort. He collected there, and to this day, Arabian racehorses. He prized himself on buying beautiful racehorses for racing and for stud and breeding. And to this day, it's an agricultural school and horse training. So thanks to them, I've gotten a lot of original photographs of this home. Yes, look, he actually, Mr. Kellogg's wanted to document his homes, which he did with all his homes, and he hired the famous photographers in Tampa, Ybor City, known as the Burgett brothers, B-U-R-G-E-R-T. They filmed everything in Tampa. If you look at a 1920s photo of Tampa and some in Pinellas County, it will say Burgett brothers. They were the best photographers around. So what you're seeing is mostly pictures by Mr. Kellogg's hiring the two brothers to photograph this building. So I'm going to show you two. One, I'm going to show you the exterior of the, it's a standard photo of what the house looked like from the back, because there's several reasons I'm bringing it now. I'll stand right here. This is the back of the house where the picture was taken from the outside of the dock, looking back at this side of the mansion. And I pointed out this because the fountain is still here. It's changed a little bit. And we're second floor. We're technically right now we're down here. But when we go up to the guest room right here and temporary master bedroom, it has two windows. I want to point that out. Here are three French doors, which is slightly different now too. But, oh, I got to verse around. This is the smaller room and this is the master. Notice when we go in the back, when we do the tour of the gardens in the backyard, these two windows, they're there. You're not going to see them inside though. They're hidden. So when you go into that room, oh, welcome, okay, thank you. Glad you could make it. And so you'll see these later on outside. So keeping that in mind when we walk around the gardens and everything, look for that and you'll see what they look like when we go upstairs to the other room. But I want to show you, again, Kellogg's and his wife were very modest people. He grew up, worked hard as a young man, He and his brother then developed and got into the cereal business and perfected, both of them very health conscious. His brother more so, you may have seen movies about it or History Channel, that his other brother owned a sanitarium in Battle Creek, Michigan, and very like salt baths, all types of kind of alternate medicines without using medications and doctors, like getting salt water and swimming and things like that. So his brother ran a sanitarium for that, for health. But Mr. Kellogg himself was concerned about his health and his wife's health. So they did several things in here that were fairly advanced at the time, and you'll see some of the things that they installed that you wouldn't have seen in 1920. So we'll do that. But I want to show you, again, they document very modest, very simple people. This is a picture of this room, 1936, roughly in this up. To give you an idea of everybody, I'm going to kind of tilt it this way. This is the original banister we're looking at right here. It's been painted, but that is the original one. The chandelier was right here, very modest chandelier. And we're going to talk about the other people that lived here afterwards. You could see that the staircase just had a kind of mirror and stand, whereas the next family mirrored it, put down a radiator over here, and altered it. Simple chairs, simple rug. The terrazzo floors here are original. You'll still see a lot of original. The ceiling and stuff is original, but it's been painted, and we're going to talk about that. Railroad, oh, it's someone's phone?
Sorry.
No, no problem. The columns, both of them are here, but again, the next family we're going to talk about has drastically painted them over. And that brings us into the other rooms over here. So you can see Kellogg's and his wife were very simple people. And you'll see that throughout. I have photos for a lot of the rooms, and it will give you a great comparison of what we're dealing with and how they did it. So Kellogg's bought the house, 1934. He just wanted, his wife actually was, for one reason or another, didn't want to stay in California. She had some issues with some of the people and said, let's just get another house for a few years in Florida. So they bought this. They only owned this home from 1934 to 1944, 10 years roughly. They actually only spent 3.5 winters in this house. After 3.5 winters here in 1940-41, Kellogg's family decided to go back to Pomona for winter. The wife finally forgave whoever she was mad with, and they started going back to California. At that same time, Dunedin had acquired a Marine barracks for training on the Alligator amphibious tank. If you know where the Dunedin Golf Range is, the driving range, right across all that property was a Marine barracks from 1940 to 1944. That's where they trained on the amphibious Alligator tank. Mr. Kellogg's, in his patriotic, very patriotic, gave this building to them to use for the U.S. Marine Corps for the officers as R&R. Single officers, not family, single R. And they would stay here, have R&R, enjoy it. No swimming pool at any time, but they could go jump in the Gulf of Mexico or the Bay, so St. Joseph Sound. So they would come here and enjoy themselves and have a good time. So, and then in 1945, when the war ended, he rented this building out to a couple who expressed a desire to live in it and maintain it for 2 years. And each year their rent was $2,500.
Oh.
You know, with the idea that they would upkeep it and keep it clean in case he did come back. After the second year, he decided to sell it. It went through 2 owners, very briefly. Matter of fact, I've tried to look up in the records and I can't even find through the county yet the names of the 2 owners. However, in 1960, so jumping 15 years ahead, a family bought it named Sid Matthews Sr. He had 2 sons, Sid Jr. and Robert. His wife was here briefly and they had gotten divorced. So it was the 2 sons and him that him. Sid Matthews got his his wealth from being a land developer first and then in advertisement. And if you've ever seen Mad Men in the 60s and 70s, he was in that business. He dealt a lot, made a lot of money. Thus, he spent a lot of money on this house. His first thing was he had traveled all over the world with his privatizing and development job. And he brought that desire of the different countries and everything he had visited and brought things back and made each room a memory of where he had been. Thus, when we go through each room, you're going to see a different format and different theme, is the best word I can use, a theme for each room. This room was really sort of Egyptian, Greek, and kind of Arabian, all in one. If you look at the wall up there, you'll see the Taj Mahal, camels in Arabia. You'll see over here the Greeks and the Mesopotamians. You'll see the style of the Egyptians over here. So he really made this room into that kind of style. And again, the gold, kind of reminiscing of an Egyptian palace, kind of this type of thing. So he did this to every room we're going to go into. Only one room, the guest room, he kept pretty sedate. So are there any questions so far in the yes?
So the bulk of this decor that we see now is that
Is
person
Matthews.
in 1960?
Yes, let
And
me
he
go
didn't
on.
have a wife?
His wife left him shortly
Yeah,
after
I
he
can
bought
get
it.
that.
She had different tastes, maybe different.
I get that.
Yes. This brings also another story that, as I wanted to bring up, that when the Matthews family was here, they lived here for 40 years. It was sold in 2003 to husband and wife. The wife is her. She kept her maiden name, Dane Webb, and the husband was Dr. Robert Nielsen, an ophthalmologist in Morton Plant. They lived here together from 2003 until last year. Dr. Nielsen passed away about a year and a half ago of cancer. To give you a word of something, because it's going to make sense in a minute, he had a daughter named Kirsten, and I'm going to bring her up for the reason I'll tell you why about saving this house. Dane Webb kept it after the husband died, and her main goal was not the house, which had been neglected for over 15 years. They did nothing. Matter of fact, most of the time they spent their time in their condominium on Clearwater Beach. They had a caretaker that would come in to make sure no one had robbed anything, but virtually hardly lived here. He's just gonna move over. If you guys just sit there for a second, I don't want anybody getting stabbed with a pole. Lo and behold, Dane Webb finally gets a young couple, well, not that young, in their 30s, early 40s, Dr. David Wenk, W-E-N-K, and his wife Chrissy or Christian, and she's an attorney in Tampa in a partnership. They bought this property less than 6 months ago for $4.2 million. It's one of the few water land mass left in the city of Dunedin. Again, they didn't know what to expect about the house until they started inspecting it. They came, now this is where I came in. I'm on the board of trustees for historic preservation for the city of Dunedin. And my first goal with my committee was to try to save the house and make it a historic residence of the city of Dunedin, which would have slowed down or even stopped the process of the house being destroyed. Thus, here is what comes. Dane Webb did not want me to do that. She wanted to sell the land, which would have held up her money deal. She wanted the money. She said, quote, "I need the money, I need to sell this." So, she called on to her stepdaughter. The father had passed away at this time. The stepdaughter is Kirsten Nielsen. Now, I'm not being political, but she worked in politics in Washington, D.C., and her boss was Donald Trump. And she was head of Homeland Security for a year and a half. At that whole episode about Mexico, the detainment camps. After a year, she was laid off and removed it, but she still held a high position with the Bush family, with the Trump family, and Dane Webb interfered by asking her to write a letter to Florida state representatives and senators. Kirsten wrote a letter to Charlie Chris, wrote a letter to Rubio. In turn, both of them inquired and called up Gus Bilirakis down here. In turn, Gus Bilirakis contacted the mayor's office in the city of Dunedin. In turn, the city manager contacted me and said, Vinny, for the interest of all involved, please stop what you're doing. So I was basically asked to not pursue for historic designation. I said, well, at least let me know the condition of the house. Maybe we can save a portion of it. Maybe we can do something. I had inspectors come in, and you're going to see this. The inspector actually, before we walked halfway through what's called the carriage house or game room, said, no way, this is going to be condemned. And you'll see why. That's why I want you to wear masks, particularly in that room. It was totally neglected, water dripping through. It's black mold, asbestos, lead paint. And the inspector said, Asmat said, no way. It's not being moved. Dust isn't going to fly. It's not going to happen. This house on the second floor, you're going to see the same disaster that happened. The only thing that could have been done is that this building was saved. The whole second floor would have had to been removed, and they would have had to work from the first floor up. And even this area would have had to been plastic and contained and removed of lead paint, asbestos, and mold that's growing internally inside the ceiling bolts. So the family said, we're not doing it. We really don't. But she said, they both from Dunedin and said, we'll make a deal with the museum. We're not going to save it. We have 5 kids, one on the way. She is pregnant. And she says, we're not going to bring our children to a house that we have to worry about being sick. So she said, but the husband and her decided that they would allow the museum to use this building for up until the first of the year to raise funds to make money to do other restoration projects in Dunedin. 2 of the ones we're doing is, if you have not seen it, we own Andrews Memorial Chapel in Hampton Park, which we use for weddings and everything, and 3 of the doors are sorely in need of restoration, and that project alone will be almost $20,000. So the money that we have received from part of the party is going to retain those. We recently acquired a home on Wilkie, 1925 bungalow. The outside is fine, but the interior needs work all over. It's not been worked on 20 years, and it solely needs paint, kitchen work, living room work, and so some of the money's going to that. Also, at the same time we were doing this, the Historic Preservation Committee set up another committee to come in, which we also did at the museum, was film the entire house with the furniture, with everything that was in it prior to the auction, and filmed it for a 3D process. Yeah, anyone ever put those glasses on? I can't do that, I get seasick. You know, where you can move and everything. And they've done it where you can walk through the mansion 3D and walk through the staircase, go up. That will be preserved the first 6 months after it's completed. They reached the goal of $25,000 for phase 1. It's going to be at the Dunedin Public Library for 6 months and then travel. And then they hope to raise more money, which we're going to donate some money to as well, to continue the process so that they can get conversion to make it look like the Kellogg's mansion from 1930s. So they're going to try to do that. All good. And the curator, myself, came in here, pulled everything before Dane Webb came back, which is another story, and tried to save everything original from the 1930s in the mansion, which we did a lot of that. We saved a lot of things. But unfortunately, Dane Webb sold it to the owners, but she came back that weekend with another set of keys and borrowed or took.
Yeah.
Being nice. Took things that really she should not have taken back, including in the dining room, the original Kellogg's dining table, which we found out later was sold in Sarasota salvage for $13,000. And that should have been going to the museum. So the family was mad at her for coming back and taking stuff all over. Within a 12-hour period, she had 3 salvage companies in, and I'm going to use the word ransacked. We came in here, things were on the floor, things were torn out. Literally, it took us 3 weeks to clean up the mansion so that we could have our event in here. Things were on the floor, towels, dresses, clothes. It was just a mess. It was torn apart. So the family said, Vinny, make money. I hope that satisfies the community that we tried. We couldn't save the building, but with the money you raise, you can at least save 2 other buildings. So I really want to tell you that everybody's been giving them a bad rap. They're not bad. I'm hoping that over 40,000 was raised, and that was only because they allowed us to use this place to raise that money. Otherwise, they could have said, bye, no money, no nothing, we're tearing it down, get lost. But they actually raised $40,000 for us. That's going to save 2 other buildings. So the history is their concern, saving other buildings they cared about, and they were willing to work with us. So, when I saw newspapers saying, what a shame, how bad, well, I'm not going to say it's a shame. It was coming down because Asmat came in here and said, no way. And when you see what I'm going to show you, you're going to agree 100%. This house could not be saved. It was overlooked for over 20 years, and there's no way to save a house. I mean, it would be 5 times the value of the house to restore it back to what it is, and it would not be the same house. It would be completely rebuilt. So, in that case in mind, we're going to go to the first room, because I had to put that plug in. So thank you for listening to me. This is the Kellogg room, again, the original terrazzo floor, original ceiling, and I just so happen to have a photo for this room. And this is the original, again, 1936 Kellogg's view. Very modest, as I said. Notice the ceiling is the original ceiling up here, the terrazzo floors. As you look, this is right here. Here is the fireplace. There's the open windows, both there. So they really have not changed. All the windows right there. Very modest, rugs, simple furniture, not even a chandelier. They were very modest. They just had side lamps around. So they really were not fancy people. A lot of what in technology, though, they did upgrade in certain conveniences with the bathrooms, which we'll talk about, and certain conveniences like fireplaces. Now, they didn't always want to put on a fire, but they may have been in the living room. It may have been cold. All the fireplaces you see have built in, and when you go down to the basement in the furnace, the monster furnace, they built the hot water system with the furnace to blow hot air through the vents here. These vents open up, and the hot air from the basement blows through here and immediately heats up the room. So instead of waiting for radiator heat to kind of forward its way through the room, hot air was instantly blown in here. So they had that done in 3 or 4 of the rooms with the fireplaces. They got that. The Matthews.
Who had this done?
Fishcorn and Kellogg's.
Oh, okay.
They had that done.
Back then.
They had that done. As you can see, Mr. Matthews, again, being traveled about. I kind of call this the Rome room. Again, a kind of statuesque Rome, palatial, the fountains, the Italian scenery. I kind of think he thought of Italy when he was doing this room.
It's like a very Scandinavian
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, and again, but this was the original ceiling, and he did put the paintings on it. I mean, he did that. I can't tell you what he was thinking. I just don't know. People and the panels, I want to point out the murals. If you're not familiar and haven't been here that long, the artist that did all the murals throughout the house is the same artist that did all the murals at the Cape Cod Tree restaurant. If you've been to the Cape Cod Tree, now it's Sam Ash Music Store, but there's a few of the murals there, but this is the same artist that did all the Cape Cod trees. So he did all this. The radiator covers, a lot of them were sold. I have 2 still left. They were even painted as well. But the rug has been sold. That's going to be pulled up after the tours are over. And some of if you want, what didn't sell were the blue curtains. So if you have an interest, I have a list outside. I'm taking names and requests for people who want something that may not have sold. So, but this room was used. And this is the room, we had a lot of lamps and chandeliers in it, so when we had the auction on Friday, people could walk by and see them. Ironically, the 2 things, I didn't really know what was going to sell. I honestly had no idea. There was such a mixed bag of things. But to show you Dame Webb didn't care about this house, we came here a month ago, and the Christmas tree was still up with decorations right here in the corner. 12-foot Christmas tree, high, huge. Right next to it was a grubby 2-foot Santa Claus that looked had been out scuzzing
I
in
saw
there.
that Santa Claus.
Yeah,
We
you saw
walked
that in
through
the
it,
yard,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I said, no way. That tree sold for $190, and the grubby little 2-foot Santa Claus, which was standing outside during the party, went for $250. Don't ask me. And my only logic thing that I can say is people just said for Christmas, I own a piece of the Kellogg's mansion, and this Santa Claus sat in the Kellogg's tree. Whatever. I mean, if you're happy, the guy yesterday trucked out the Santa Claus and the Christmas tree and put it in his truck. He was happy.
You remind me of that Carol Renesi, remember when
Yes,
she
and
came
they're
down
gone with the
and
wind. Yeah. So anyone wants to do for Halloween Carol Renesi, you can buy a couple of them. Say, you took it right off the window. Just a little something found in the window shop. The Wilkie House is one of the ones we're gonna restore. Where we're going, first of all, we're going to rent it to another artist. We are gonna put some of Ralph's work on display, either through gallery, and some of the work will remain in the house, but for a year, an artist is gonna be doing it, but before he moves in the first year, that's why we wanna paint and restore it. It needs work interior. Ralph, an eccentric artist who donated the house, he was a little insecure on security, and he took out lights. He only used flashlights and other things, so we have to prepare the kitchen, the lighting, make it livable. So that's where some of this renovation money's gonna go to. Yeah. So that was one of the renovation projects we have to work on it. Ralph was a wonderful person. I knew him for 7 years, particularly close the last 6 months before he passed away, but he didn't take care of his house. He loved art, he did art, but he was not a housekeeper. So we need to do a lot of work with housekeeping. Any questions before we go into the other rooms? Okay, let's move on. I'm going to take you into the kitchen and the wine room and the basement. Late 1790s, 1800s
Wow.
French, the sides. The original ceiling is original, however, Sid had the paint painted in and papered over. But you can see, again, internally, the mold and mildew and the moisture is actually starting to peel the paperwork. If you look at some of the murals, the walls and the moisture have pulled them off the walls. Now these were bid, actually the museum bid on that one, because if you look in the bottom corner by the light switch, the artist's name from the Cape Cod tree's on that. So we're keeping that one for the museum collection. And if anyone has taken wallpaper off, they can sympathize with me. It is not the most pleasant jobs. But there's a technique museum technicians use called hot steaming. It's almost like a steam press, and you just sit there for hours and press the steam on it until the paste melts virtually and it just pulls away from the wall. Then you have to clean the paste off the back, and God knows if there's mold behind that, and then we'll have to put it in a freezer for 6 months to kill the mold. Yes?
Were they sold, other, like, did someone purchase the other?
Some are, some aren't. So if you're interested, I can check. I know this wall, matter of fact, my president, Blake, who we bought this for the museum, but I don't think he bought these. I think it was just that wall. So if you're interested, put your name on my list. Say the dining room murals on the north side or south side or west side. Okay? And, yeah.
Wow.
Table that was stolen.
Thank you. Again, Dane Webb, in here, and I saw it. It is beautiful. It was French provincial, and it sat 12. And it basically, matter of fact, people ask me, what's this hole? I'm telling you. The dining table was right here. This was the maid's serving table. It sat in there, and when she brought the serving tray, right into the hole, so she could put it in. And the dining table was right here, and in one quick 6-hour period, she and the salvages took it out, hid it in Sarasota, Bradenton, and before I realized it, 2 weeks later, sold on the market for $13,000, which was supposed to go to the museum. 2 other paintings from the master bedroom and the guest bedroom went for $6,000 a piece too. And there's more, but we'll never see. The family, the Wayne family dropped the lawsuit. The issue was the term personal property. What is personal property? But the other balance of that is she had sold the house and came in trespassing. So she trespassed, took the things out when she didn't own the house, and late at night came in with 3 companies and moved everything out. Like I said, they just started ripping. I mean, like she said, get it out fast, and then locked the door and walked away, and the Wayne family came 2 days later and said, you've been burglarized, and we found out it was her. But they didn't want to pursue it, they didn't want any more publicity, they knew that they were going to work a deal out with us, and it was like, oh well, that's bad karma on our part, and we'll see what happens. So we did that.
And she did all this while she's pregnant. This is just mind-boggling. Okay.
Well, she wasn't pregnant.
Oh, I think she was
No,
having another child.
She, that's the new owner.
Oh, the new
Yes,
owner.
the attorney,
Okay.
Chrissy Wayne. Dave Webb was 79.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yes. Maybe she's pregnant, I don't know. Again, I want to show you again, First Corn and Kellogg's. This is an idea. This one shows the original piping for the hot air vents. They're still in there, and we're gonna take those out after the fireplace pulls out, we're gonna pull it. And you move, I can't do it, the string here, you move them and the vents open and close, and that's how the hot air would just blow in here. Again, the radiator is right over there, but if you wanted quick hot air, you would just open up the vents. You'll see it in the basement, the fan, the blower, and the monstrosity furnace, as we say. You'll see that in there. So that's it. Now what we're going to go through is in the left side, this room that you first go through was, it's a little dark because there were stained glass windows in which went in the auction. It was the crest of the Mathers family. And someone is either named Mathers or just like the crest. And they bought the 3 stained glass. You'll see the same kind of colors that is still in the kitchen window. No one bought that yet. But this was the wine room for Kellogg's, Fish Corn, and Mathers family, all their liquor, and they left liquor everywhere. I mean, there were bottles of liquor that the Wanks came in here and said, man, we could have some party, but who knows how old that stuff was. And they say, you know, good wine and everything ages. I would not touch that stuff. Who knows? And the back room was the cleaning, washing room. Literally, Dr. Nielsen, who had been passed away for a year, his clothes and medical stuff was still in there. We found drugs galore that she just threw in. I mean, it was a junkie's paradise. Medical tools, his uniform, she just threw it all in there and said, Godspeed. And it just stuck in there in the washroom. And it looked like she didn't even use the washing machine after that. So God knows.
Do you have a picture of this room?
What about the room?
A picture of this room from the 1930s or 40s?
I did. I had left it right there, and someone took it on me yesterday. I think they thought it was just like, oh look, I bought this much in here, let's bring the photo home. So my $65 photo I had printed, that one got away from me. Someone took it as a souvenir. You know, it's the only one I lost.
You're gonna have to carry them around.
I'm very trustworthy.
Maybe that lady snuck in here without you seeing her.
Yeah.
One last thing.
Yesterday was my first tour. I had it, and when I was locking up the building last night, it was gone. Now, there were a lot of people here taking things out, moving things. Today, it's a lot quieter because most of it is done. Yeah, souvenir. So, I'm sorry. So we're gonna walk through, also I wanna tell you, we're gonna kitchen's a little small, but in 1970, this was like super modern 70s. It had microwave oven, it had disposable, what do you call it, the garbage disposal that crushed. It had toasters that popped up from under the sink or under the counters. It had brand new TV style at that time. It had garbage disposal. It had a $15,000 stainless steel refrigerator.
Holy
that
crap.
was supposed to be the ultimate refrigerator at the time. It had
Is that
4
the one
sinks.
that's in there now?
What?
Is that the one that's in there now?
No, it's
Oh,
gone.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say,
No,
that-
it's
that one
gone.
looked
Yeah,
kinda
it's
new.
gone. And you'll see other things. It's built at, I'm only kidding. It reminds me of Tina's Casatinas. He made it into the style of Santa Fe, New Mexico. As soon as you walk in, the brick entranceway, look at the tile work, look at the colors of reds and kind of, it looks Mexican or kind of Tahoe's, like, you know, like Santa Fe-ish. So you're gonna see that, so what I wanna do is, we've got a bigger group than I've had. I'm gonna take half the group and the rest can kind of either look around here, go to the kitchen, kind of look through the wine room. I'm gonna take half the group down to the basement because it is tight, and in that, wear your mask. There's asbestos, mold, and
Lead paint.
what's the other one? Anyway, it's
Is the
toxic.
asbestos sealed around pipes?
Yes, and you'll
It
see
won't be
that.
in the air that.
No, that's why I say it. If you don't touch it, it won't be.
Yeah.
Asthma team came in here, because that's gonna have to be removed. And they said, when that stuff in the basement is removed, they're gonna put plastic up from the basement all the way into this room. This whole corridor is gonna be blocked off because the furnace, when you see it, is huge. And they're gonna have to take it apart. And if anyone's seen an old furnace, my parents had a house in Long Island, and the inside bricks are asbestos. And all those bricks have to be taken out one by one and then decontaminated in a box and then carried out for azimuth. So this is not an easy thing. And as I said already, with the peeling, the mold and the moisture is already in the center of the walls. This building is contaminated. And the owners, just with 5 young kids, just don't want to take a chance. And I can't blame them, I really can't. But they're doing a good deed for us. So, and that's all I look at it that way. But come on in, I'm gonna take half of you, those who want to come the first half, follow me. Does everybody want to see the cellar? How many want?
Yeah.
Everybody does, okay. So we'll take the first half and we'll just walk through to the cellar. The rest can look at the wine and the kitchen. Maybe I'll bring about half back upstairs from the furnace. The rest can stay down. No, won't. And then you can see the kitchen, wine cellar, and I'll bring the rest down to the basement, okay? So our first 6 or 7, come with me to the cellar. Everybody else can follow in. The kitchen, the wine cellar, and we'll go from there.
Holy moly. Wow, there's that glass.
I'm not really sure how they're gonna bring it out. I'm thinking probably from the side door out this way, and again, it's very steep staircase. Please use your hand on the banister. And again, I don't want anybody to touch their face or hands or anything until they get home and wash. This is the original basement from 1927. This new water heater, but this is the original
These are
1927
steep steps.
furnace. This building would flood. And 2, if you
Yeah.
can see the water in there, 2 of them, one is still in there, were sump pumps, that if it got more than the level of the water was pumped out of that, ran through and went through the seawall and pumped it back into the Gulf. So if it got to the point close to the top of the electric, the valve would kick off and the water was pumped out. This is the heat event that would keep and turn the hot water into hot air. And so it was run up to the pipes, up to the basement, and up to the fan. Again, This is over 1 ton original furnace. It is a monster. It is, and again, the family's gonna have to remove this, so that's gonna be some cost alone to get all this out of this house. That's an expense they're gonna have to incur. And all, again, the original heater and everything else back there, but this all goes back 100 years ago.
What's the fuel?
The fuel,
Yeah, fuel
it
for
was
oil.
originally coal.
Yeah,
It was originally coal and then converted into oil.
right.
But it reminds me, for a little while, I grew up on Long Island, New York City, and in the Bronx, and I remember this where my grandfather's house, a brownstone in the Bronx, we had this coal chute, and I believe that's why this door right was here, was to deliver the coal and bring it down here so that they could shovel it into the furnace. So this was ultra modern for its time. And again, I don't want anybody, the new fuse boxes are here that they put in to make the house work, but everything up here is asbestos and the pipes are asbestos, so it's a nightmare. And again, literally, I'm gonna say this is at least $100,000, $200,000 repair job to get rid of this.
Sure.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it's a nightmare that I don't wanna deal with.
Did this go in the salvage auction?
Yes, it did. It did. No one wanted to deal with it. Azimuth, the word azimuth ran through everybody's mind. They
Right.
just knew that it was danger.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, it was, if you look at the auction, the word pass was on it.
These are unique stairs in itself.
Yeah, that's why I said they're kind of high. I don't know why someone would, they're at least 12 inches high and
Yeah,
off.
weird.
Thank God I got good knees, otherwise I don't know. So the other half of my folks now, if you'd like to step aside and let everybody, that was the washroom where I found all the doctor's drugs, his uniforms, his medical stuff. Everybody else who hadn't seen it, don't go up here, we're gonna see that from the opposite end.
No worries.
This was a downstairs case from the 70s room, which you'll see later. So all my other friends come down this way to my dungeon.
It is kind of like a dungeon.
That was my fault.
They had a double oven.
Wow.
Big refrigerator was.
This could be like the butler pantry.
So this is the wine room, but that's where the stained glass was that was sold. Yes, I see the thing.
Yeah, laundry day. He pointed that way, I think, when he said it.
Also, this nasty man just didn't like Florida at all. We gotta have Santa Fe, we gotta have Rome, we gotta have Tuscany, we gotta have Egypt. I thought they were real. What is that?
Look at that.
It's amazing. wonder what this just would have been.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna give you plenty of time to go everywhere. Generally about a third of the way through, back, we're gonna go up the main balcony area. Can we get everybody? Where's everybody else?
They're on the patio out there,
Okay.
sunning themselves in the wind.
Okay. Okay, is everybody ready to go to the second floor?
Yeah.
This is where it gets interesting. The rooms get a little different. Yes, absolutely.
Some they have screen over.
Holding on to the balcony. This is Kellogg's has a little bit of arthritis and leg problems, and that can talk medically for why she needs a certain bathtub. This is a 1935 Otis elevator. Mr. Kellogg put it in. The downstairs door is locked up. You wouldn't even know it was there. But we kept this one just to show it. Matthews used it for a while in the 60s. He didn't like the original, remember in the dining room, the red carpeted wall? Well, that was what was here, and it's faded and, again, moldy. But he loved leopard skin and tigers, again, from his travels, so he's 60, kind of modified it. So we're taking, unless you get an offer, we kept the light, the Otis buttons, and the museum's keeping that as original Kellogg material. We're gonna go in this room first. And first of all, you're gonna notice the floors, they're in, the only thing that's in spectacular. And this is a little side story. I was in Heather Hills, and I had my kitchen water valve busted, and I lost all my floors in a valve water break. And I'm thinking of taking these and substituting it for the damaged wood.
Yes.
So my insurance agent's actually coming over next week to appraise the value of what it would take. So I may have the Kellogg's floor for my living room and kitchen area.
Nice.
I'm hoping that works out, because no one bid on it. So I'll give a donation to the museum, and hopefully with my insurance company, have them replace my cruddy, lousy wood that's soaking wet and put this in. Again, here's a photo. I want to give you an idea. Remember that one from outside? This is the bedroom looking from outside back with the one window, the other two side and one. But to give you an idea, you're looking at the baluster window right there, the window right there, right at the tip, right there is the fireplace. Now this fireplace was removed the other day. And eventually, two other fireplaces are gonna be removed. One in the master bedroom. This at one time was quoted as master or guest room. This was used again with Frischkorn as a guest room. He and his wife lived in the other one. Their daughter lived in the last one that you'll see on that. But Kellogg and his wife occasionally would sleep in separate rooms because Kellogg, again, avid reader, would stay up late at night and read. So if she was totally annoyed with him, she'd come in here and sleep in here. And you can see the side bed was there. His is in corners, so the beds kind of went this way. Again, I Love Lucy, everybody had separate beds. Yeah. So, and again, no chandeliers, simple lights. Oh, I was going to point to them. Simple little lights like there. That, I mean, that's what lit up the room. No chandelier, carpet, which kind of surprising with the floors, but at that time period, I think everybody had a nice kind of carpet in the center of the room. And the bathroom was right there, and I wanted to point out, you can go in the bathroom. One on the left is the heater I talked about that you could heat up from the furnace. The bathtub, take a look on the right side. The vanity is new, but the shower was put in, the tall shower head, look at that. Mathers put that in, and it was, again, ultra modern for late 60s. It has water spouts, like a jacuzzi, what about? I mean, you go in there, it probably sprayed you to death. There's 7 hoses coming out. But the bathtub was set to have salt water put into the bathtub for a salt water bath, mineral bath. So the dials in there show you that one you turn on, and the cold water would be heated and then sent to the bathtub. Yeah.
And this wasn't here in your picture, so that was added.
This was added by the Nielsen family, the doctor and his wife there. They only had one bed in here. Honestly, I think when Kirsten went to visit her dad and he was staying here for a little while, I think Kirsten, this was her room.
I like the color.
Do you know that's outdated?
Because it just coincidental, we found a case, and it was family, and it's family photos. It was Kirsten, her sister, and the doctor. And why she didn't want it, we contacted Dane Webb. She's never responded. I think she's afraid to talk to us. But in the garage are 2 travel trunk cases full of wedding certificate, family photos, high school photos. And we're leaving them and seeing if they want to claim it. You know, we'll leave it for another couple of months, but.
That was the first one.
Yeah, but Dane Webb has no interest. So interesting, again, the floor throughout this. We're gonna go into the center room, but not all the way, because that brings us to the 70s, but I want to take you here. This room was modified quite a bit, but I have to say this, when we had the party, this view was most spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
The Kellogg's and the Frischkorns had bay door windows. This was not like this. This is the only thing I like that Matthews did that I approve of. The Kellogg's and Frischkorns had French doors that you would just open up. I personally, when I saw it at night, our bar was right here. We had a musician right here. The lights were down. The dock lights were on, the floodlights were on, and the sunset was coming in. I took photos, like, we're actually making postcards for the museum's collection of all the beautiful shots we took during the party. Some for Christmas, some just Kellogg's in packages. Phenomenal view, breathtaking. And just felt like the Great Gatsby standing there just looking for Daisy. And ironically, on the pier at nighttime, if you go out there, there's a red and green light flashing out there. And this room, which was much smaller, you see the door was closed off, but this was Kellogg's library room. This is where all his books were. Where when he came down for winter, all the books. That door did not exist that they're walking out of. This ended the building. The original building ended right there. We're going to walk in later to show you what Sid did for the 70s. The next is the master bedroom, and I do have a photo of it, which completely. Now I'm going to give you a story, another urban legend. The legend was that Sid had gotten the wood from Thomas Jefferson's plantation. Now that's not true because I had just been to Monticello. And I know as a fact that any wood that comes from his plantation stays on the plantation. Either a furniture piece is made for it from one of the areas on the premise. They make pottery, they make pens, but anything that's a tree on Monticello, it stays there. What we did find out, I sent a sample of the wood to the curator there. What it is not too far from Jefferson Plantation. There's another plantation that his great-grandfather owned, and we believe the wood came from his great-grandfather's plantation. So that's where we think the wood, because everybody says you're sleeping in a bed made of wood from Thomas Jefferson's home. Not true. We've authorized that. So when the auction came, we didn't want everybody saying, oh, I bought Thomas Jefferson's furniture, and no. Yeah, or wood. No, you did not. Maybe you bought his great-grandfather's piece of property wood that was on his plantation. Maybe.
Who's great-grandfather?
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson's great.
So you're going to see the room. I'm going to show you the original picture of the Jefferson room and how much it's been switched. Remember I said the windows from the back? Look, to see how he set it up and where the windows went. All right, we're gonna go into the window, and you're also gonna see how big they enlarged the dressing room and the bathroom. There was nothing like it. Welcome.
It's a beautiful view.
Turn on the stereo, you can turn on lights, you can turn on the chandelier, you can turn on TV. It was like, you didn't have to do anything. And there was a giant, which was sold, a giant chandelier that hung down right here on that. So this wood was supposed to become, it is not. It is from the Virginia area and potentially one of Jefferson's relatives. But that's as far as I would say it is on that. Here's a picture of what it looked like when Kellogg's did it. To give you a perspective, because it's completely opposite. Here's the fireplace right here. The bathroom door was right here, very small, and none of this was here. This wall was back enough that they had the Kellogg's 2 beds, Lucy and Desi. They had the 2 beds there, and the windows were open, so when you woke up in the morning, you were staring at the bay, right? So that's how it looked. Again, no chandeliers, a few lights. That window did exist, but there were the 2 large windows.
Those are the ones you can see from outside,
Yes, you'll still see them outside.
but they're actually
Now,
mirrors.
someone did buy this whole setup. I'm real curious to see if we eventually see the balconies again, if they take down the mirrors.
So
They
this-
want the wood,
This was all sold.
all sold, $650.
What?
Yeah. Now, interesting, stained glass, there was stained glass all around this room. I thought, I bid on this, naive as I was. I bid, and my whole staff bid, we all had a game. I went to $100, I was top bidder, and I thought for sure. It soon passed $100 and ended up at $1,000.
Ooh.
Now, on the other side, because it's lit, you can see the color. It is beautiful. But on these walls right here with stained glass, take a look at the rest of the bathroom. I want to tell you, the room that was over here didn't exist. It was a balcony at one time for the Kellogg's and Frisch Corns. It was now a dressing room with glass mirrors all around it. We walked in there, and the best way I could, Marcos, what's Imelda?
Yeah.
Milda Marcos.
Yes, that's what the room looked. Dresses on the floor, makeup falling off the table, Gucci shoes on that, perfume, all high class, just everywhere. You know, just like picked up a couple things and got out of here.
Oh,
And
my
it
goodness.
literally took us 2 weeks to clean up this corner of the bathroom.
Unbelievable.
It was amazing, but take a look at the shower, the bidet, and this was enclosed as the bathroom and the shower room, and a marvelous glass.
I know. Oh, is it? Oops, sorry, thank you. The whole time, huh?
Yeah.
A vanity was right here, and it was full of makeup, perfume, drugs, all right here, and shoes, and dresses, and she left everything. It was just a ton. The drawers. Yeah, she knew what was worth more. You know, she only had about 6 hours, so she grabbed the valuable things. The chandelier was sold for $700. That was above there. It was a crystal chandelier, that kind of 20-ish, that was, circular crystals that went down in circular. And where you're standing is the shower. I want to point out, first of all, there's mirrors in there. Again, I don't want to get into that, but look how thin it is. I mean, it is like claustrophobic thin shower.
Going to Sharon's 3rd guest room.
All this was there.
Go
When
to
you
your
go
3rd
outside
guest
and you
room
see the
with that
jacuzzi tub,
This was so funny.
above you
Remember
is 3 balconies. They're here, but you can't see them. You'll see 3 balconies that you could have walked out there above the jacuzzi when you walk around the property. So remember, when you're looking at the outside balconies, it's this. They made it into a dressing room.
So you said she did leave some of the clothing and stuff. What has the Historical Society done with those?
We're gonna have a, Black Louise set it up, he kept the Gucci shoes and everything. We're having when a flea market is outside the museum, when the city has one of the flea markets, we're putting all those things out for the flea market.
That's good.
And
And those were the personal items of
Yes.
the Dane lady.
Yes, right, some of the dresses, the shoes, some of the equipment things like that.
How can we like stay up and that's gonna happen?
Look, every now and then look on, well, first of all, if you know when the city has downtown flea market, the first one they have will be out there in front of the museum.
Okay.
So when you see the city's flea market sign, which is usually,
There's one this
After-
weekend, isn't there?
yeah,
It's an art.
yeah, with the Celtic festival is mostly going on. It will be the next flea market they have downtown or antique show.
Okay.
It will be that.
I wonder.
Oh, beads, love beads.
Oh.
Beads here and beads on that, $650.
Oh my
Are you
God.
Are you kidding?
On that.
Oh my goodness.
I know, what did you do with that?
Well, it would have taken 2 days to fill that tower.
Oh, yeah, believe me. Yeah. And you could have salt water or just plain hot water and then bubbles.
Wow, that's amazing.
No, you're fine. You look, it's really tiny, like you said.
Here they had these things.
I'm curious to
Telling me
see.
those plastics.
Yes, I am.
Maybe
Look on the auction. I'm not
These are
lying.
funny.
Yeah,
Right
this is
there.
marvelous. Sure, it's marvelous.
Nasty beads.
No, $650.
And that only went for the.
And that went for $1,000.
Wow.
No sense to the auction. I couldn't figure it out. No sense. Someone just said, I want this, and money no object. Just like that.
Now, are they selling the marble floors?
It can be, no one bid on it, but it is available.
Oh my God, this is beautiful.
It is.
Again, the trick is getting
Get
them
it
out
out.
without cracking it.
Right.
So that's the chore. The gentleman bought this fireplace, his initials are on it, but he's waiting until the construction starts, so they start pulling the room apart. He can get the marble out and everything else out. But this wall is not the same owner as this. So he's different. He bought the fireplace separate. So he took the mantle top today because it has a lion crest on it and everything, and he didn't want that damaged. So he took the facing, yeah. And he'll come out. Maybe that's all he wants. I don't know. But he took that off today. Like you can go online, yeah. They're still putting that in. There was a problem with the auction because I had 4 or 5 people. I had to work out arrangements. They didn't sync it up where the guy was on live here with the computer and people were bidding at home like eBay. And some of the eBay bids was not catching up to the live bids. So some people were bidding on eBay style and their bids were not going through. They were getting blocked by the live bids. So some people said, hey, I had a higher bid. Whereas then they said, oh no, the live bid was there and we just didn't input it. So I had to work out with 5 people an arrangement that if you want it, you could sell it. If you don't want it, don't sell it. And we'll give a refund to the one that how much money they had put in. We had to do some appeasements. Yeah, so we didn't want anybody mad. So we try to make everybody happy. But that was an auction mistake. I mean, the auction did an okay job, but they need to work on their computer system because people at home were very upset that they weren't caught up to the moment action. There was a lapse time, and people said, I lost the bid because my bid didn't go through. We're gonna make a left and go through the library room, and we're now going to the 70s.
All right.
Matthews added all this on. This was not part of the original house. Go through
That
the
is
door.
beautiful.
That is really beautiful.
Watch the left side.
That was definitely worth $1,000.
Oh, thanks so much.
Thanks for coming.
There's something I'm gonna bid on. I can go online and do it?
Yes.
Great.
If you can't, just call the auctioneer and see if he'll contact you and see if you can get it.
Thanks again. See you later.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, take care.
This was the Matthews private disco.
Oh, that's the room.
This was a plastic, hard plastic top of a, what's the famous 60s artist, Campbell Soup?
Holy crap.
Candy Warhol, yeah. It's kind of 60s love, peace, happiness, love, and all these silver things. And believe it or not, they weren't working when we first came here. Friend Larry and I went underneath the vent, and the machine was right there. And we plugged it in, wasn't working. Larry banged it with a hammer, and the lights up here went on, all these lights on, and we left them on because we wanted everybody to have it for the party. So so the whole floor was strobe light, blinking lights. We had the music going through the speakers. This was actually a monitor system. The window mirrors open up, and it's a screen. It was one of the late 70s video projectors. You know, the big one that had like the three wide, green, red, and white, And he projected images on while you were dancing. And then if you got so hot, you would go out here to the balcony, which he built. Let me open up the door a little wider so everybody. And you could cool off and go down, which we don't want you to right now, but you could go down to the bar, get yourself a cocktail, admire the view. There was a fountain, there were a few tables down here. All this was added on by the Matthews family. The building here ended. Actually, this building didn't exist. It ended over there. He added this walkway and this plaza. This was the roof originally of the bottom floor of the carriage house, which we're briefly going to go into. This didn't exist. It was a roof. He made it into a bar patio. He built this whole walkway to go into it from upstairs. Originally, the carriage house had the downstairs entrance, and that's it. But we're going to walk through where you can see you could walk through. I don't want anybody down here. You're welcome to look through the doorway, but the floor, you'll see downstairs, there's leaks. When they had the auctioneer stood up here, but 5 people were down there, and I just prayed that not one of them would. I'd be seeing them for about 5 seconds, and then it would slowly go down into the first floor. It is that we, especially right here, remember about a month ago we had the heavy winds and the hurricane winds? Downstairs there's the bar, which still is probably not half still there, they're working on it. But to the left and right of it were stained glass, 6 feet high, conquistador and a senorita. Beautiful. And the wood rot was so bad here, and black mold, that when I came here after the hurricane, the wood had rotted completely where the stained glass just fell forward and fell flat on the door and blew into 1,000 pieces. So we lost that. We saved the female, but the male was, the conquistador dancer was destroyed. Which is a shame because that would have won for a great matching pair. But someone bid on the fountain and someone bid $15 on the bar. Why? I think the person actually just wants the copper from the drain pipe. I probably bet that's all he takes, is the copper drain pipe. Or something underneath, I don't know.
And where did these steps go to?
Now, interesting point, I call them the steps to nowhere, but remember, this was the original ending of the house. There's a tower up there, and you can see it right there. There was a lantern in it, and those steps took you around the side so you could change the bulb in the lights when the lights went out. But that was the only reason there, but when he built this open walkway, he lost the whole stepping ladder. So this is now the walkway and the hallway. So you can't go up and change light, although the light is gone now anyway. So, but that was it on that. But again, for the party, the disco room was the toast of the town. Everybody was boogieing and drinking and dancing. And I'm sure on YouTube you'll catch me dancing on the floor and everybody else that was here on that. Everybody had a great time in this room. The bar was right down there, and everybody started. Even the mayor was dancing a little bit up here. So it was boogie night. It was just amazing. And then ironically, someone, I said, don't touch the devices every day because I worked so hard on the lights with Larry. Someone unplugged it, and I went, no, and it stopped. I couldn't get it working again. So we had it for the one night, but I couldn't have it for the volunteer reception. So we just put spotlights up and glowing lights and all these little silver lights were flashing and glowing, and even we saw this bid number 215, $265. I can't believe someone bought this, but they want it for their den, and they're gonna come and take it down. Things I never imagined, but you never know what people want.
I agree.
It's amazing. It's truly amazing.
To use.
You know what I mean?
We're gonna go into the 70s section. Again, this will take us a little closer to the home.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right there.
Someone bought this ironwork? 'Cause it's really
Yeah, there is a face right there in the
Oh,
iron.
I didn't even notice that.
I'll be darned. I wonder if he knew that. Yeah, that is a good catch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here it is.
I can see being drunk and stumbling down these things.
know. Yeah, it's not very safe for a party place.
They must have had a real.
Oh, yeah, they had a real.
Oh, yeah, okay.
This is 1920s on the right, 1970s on the left. Again, this, I call this the childhood.
I forgot what was this, you know? Goes down to the housekeeper's thing.
But this, again, there was water damage. If I keep the closet closed, you'll see the corner of that closet. I don't even want to open it up. Behind that picture, just to hide it, is growing mold. I covered it so no one will touch the mold or anything, but there's a huge splotch of mold there. And again, I didn't even show it to you, but the other master bedroom by the bathroom, if you look straight up, the whole ceiling and wallpaper was collapsing from mold. So this house is a mess. And I'm not gonna blame anybody, but several families just did not take care of this. And the reason it's going is neglect. And there's
That's awful.
nothing we can do about it. Politically, I was stopped. Financially, we were stopped from moving it, and environmentally, we were stopped from doing it. And so, the best next thing as a win-win is the family said, make some money on it, and do what you can do with your chapel and the Wilkie House. So that's what we're gonna do. And the 3D project, we'll donate some money to that. So the Kellogg, and we had today all day, they were exhausted. The Dunedin Garden Club was here. And they took all the different species of flowers from the gardens, and they're building a special garden at Dunedin Public Library in honor of the Kellogg's mentioned. So all the flowers that grow here
Good.
That's
will
nice.
be at the public library. So the garden goes on at the library. We're gonna go down to the left, and we're gonna go through. This was a cedar room, cedar all the way through. And let me see if the light is on. Ah, there we go. The light is working. This was all cedar wood.
Oh, my goodness.
This whole wall, this was covered by cedar, a window that goes nowhere. That was a closet that had cedar containment where they had clothes and everything else. All that was cedar wood.
Wow.
They did that. Family bought, a husband and wife bought all the cedar to do all their closets. If you want to poke your head in there, is outside that stuff that you can see the patio a little closer. This was the bathroom in case you were partying outside and you needed a restroom. Definitely 70s. And this was
Wow.
a 70s kitchen, so your party was making snacks or hors d'oeuvres. You had the state-of-the-art 70s microwave oven, Frigidaire, and the broiler. What do they call it? The brand new broiler system. They had that.
Vinny, when you had the party here,
Yes.
what did you do for bathrooms?
We first of all had two very nice portable
okay.
trailer units.
Right.
Because you pay $200, you're not gonna go in a porta potty, you're gonna go in a nice, you know how the actors have the trailers?
Yes.
That's what we had.
Oh, okay.
So we had that, and that was there for the party and our volunteer party, and they just removed it this morning.
Right.
So because this is the back stairs from the kitchen, was this not like a housekeeper's apartment or?
We
For
thought about this,
servants,
no, this was
something?
strictly for parties.
Huh, so where did the servants live?
They didn't, you mean with the Kellogg's and everything?
Yeah.
They would come for the day.
The day.
They weren't live-in servants. Kellogg's didn't have, Kellogg's did not have live-in servants.
This isn't added in the,
This is, all
Already
this is added
in
on.
the 70s.
Yes.
Yeah, this,
Yeah, that, remember I said that copper top and we're
Yes.
walking through
Okay,
that
that's-
hallway now.
I thought so.
That's, which was added on.
Yeah.
This was open space between the carriage house and the mansion.
Okay,
All this here was
not here.
not here.
I love the flower.
Oh
painted
yeah, the
ceiling.
classic 70s up
Yeah.
there.
It really is. But nothing goes like architecture.
Amazing.
Go back this way.
Okay, yes, we're gonna go back actually downstairs and we're gonna go out and go towards the garage and the gardens. I'll meet everybody downstairs in the lobby room. Nope, that's one.
Nice picture. Go on either side of that.
An elevator in.
Very dark though. You'll have to identify who you are. Yeah, because with the light in the back, it's dark. You say to the front?
Yeah, but is he ahead of us?
No, he's behind us.
Somebody.
We're gonna walk out now and go outside to the right. I'm gonna show the interior of the carriage house. Or later on, as the Mathers used it as the man's cave. Originally, it's where Fish Corn and Kellogg's, we're gonna go to the right when we step out. And you're gonna see where the original garage was, but then the Mathers family altered it and made it into a playground. It was a casino, bar, sports bar, and now, again, we originally wanted to move this building onto Sterling Park. The city didn't want it, and then when the inspectors came, they said, don't even think of moving it, it's not gonna happen. This is the one I'd like you to wear your mask if you have it, because it is bad. Between the dropping of the rain from the roof into here, the bedroom is full of black mold, and you'll just smell it. So I'm trying to protect everybody. So we're gonna go in and watch this.
I love it. Sharon.
This was built in the kind of tradition of Moroccan. Sid went to Morocco several times. He had statues from Morocco, African art. And again, right here was a Brazilian casino table. And if you know Brazilian wood, which is beautiful, you can't import that now.
That's right.
And Dame Webb took it. And I wish I would have just taken a few of the chips from it, because the chips alone were Brazilian wood. And I was so sick. And if you look in there, don't stay long, but even look up to the bedboard, the mold, the dirt. I mean, sorry, the inspectors saw that and said, you know, no way. The bar they're taking out, that is the bar. And I'm wishing you luck.
So they're not gonna be able to save this place.
I know,
Oh, my goodness.
frustrating.
Same thing. Right, stop, right there, that light.
Take the door down.
That may just happen.
Oh, my goodness.
This was, again, a guest room. This is supposedly where Sean Connery came. The Connors,
Kellogg's?
the family knew him from Miami in golfing. They invited him here, but he never came to Dunedin. But he was invited. So the family always said Sean Connery's coming here. The three cars that Sid owned was a 1958 Corvette, a 1963 Aston Martin, and if everybody knows James Bond, that was his car. And so to trick everybody into deceiving them, on the front of his show car, and I have a picture of it, he put the license plate 007. And the kids would always talk about Sean Connery's coming, Sean Connery's coming. Never came. We even emailed the Sean Connery's family after he passed away to say, did he ever come to Tampa? Never. Miami, they met him twice in golfing in Miami. Invited him, but never showed up.
He lifted that whole panel up right there.
This is a chore. This probably is going to be the hardest thing. They also bought this doorway.
Ready?
So this is gonna go by tomorrow.
See, he's picking the whole bar.
I'm trying to work an arrangement for a speakeasy at the Fenway.
I'm just putting new up there.
I want to build that room out as Rick's Cafe, but it's called the Jazz Room, and it's called the Speakeasy. And I'm ordering the main sale right now. I have to take business, but that was the bar I was thinking.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
But again, getting it out, getting it in, it's gonna be cheaper to do it. It will only be open 4 times a month or 5 times a month. You get a pass, you get the password, you knock on the door, 20 style cocktail waitresses, so I'm working, that's my retirement job.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm gonna have the store that has the period for the clothing.
Yes, yes.
So you have to dress in
Yes,
period.
yes, so we're hoping in the next 2 years that the speakeasy will be open at the Fenway.
Yeah, so it's had a super cool one, and you walked in, so this is like this shaky alley, but you went down and it was an old barn door, or not a barn door, metal door, down these cranky steps, you had to open this sliding
And that's
thing.
what this is.
The whole thing, you walk down these wood cranky steps, and then you open the door and you're like in the 1920s. Oh, I wanna take a picture.
Yes, yes.
That's really cool.
You walk in there, my girlfriend's like, this is crazy.
No, it's gonna be good. $1,000.
No, that's.
This man bought this, bought the fountain, bought a mermaid statue for $500. He's got plans for this for another building. We're gonna go, folks, now towards the garage and then to the garden in the back.
That all went for just $1,000?
Yes. Yes. That's so, that's part of what supports these titles they sell. I work with the curator at the Ring Lake Circus. I've given the new owners of these the way to do it. What they're doing is they're getting very thin plywood or plexiglass. You put in adhesive that peels off, stick it to the plexiglass, cut it to fit this. First of all, you take pictures unbelievable, because if it does go, you want to have pictures. But you put the adhesive plexi on it, it sticks. So when you cut it, it will pull out, and if whatever tiles come out, it sticks to the adhesive, so it hasn't popped out and fallen on the floor. So, I'm gonna have everybody move real quickly here because if by miracle they get that out, I don't want anybody to get it out. This is the garage. Right. This is the garage. This is Matthew's bedroom, street car.
Let me get the car out of there.
Martin and his regular car. And right behind it, again, he went all over the world. He built a Buddha garden, meditation, where he would meditate. Again, it was auctioned off, the lanterns went, Buddha went, the lions went. But you can see where the statues and everything were. But those cases, the black cases, remember I said Kirsten's material? That's it. It's sitting there, waiting for her to pick it up. So we'll see. But, you know, we've twice tried to email the family and say, we have it, we're saving it. Again, but the Buddha Garden's been pretty much auctioned off and everything's gone from it now. They took most of that out yesterday. This takes us to the back in the garden area. I'm going to just close this. Be careful. Believe it or not, and I don't know what they're going to do, people bought the ballast.
They actually bought one.
And I don't know what they're going to do because it's rebar in there.
Oh my gosh. People buy anything, I guess.
I don't know how they're going to repair it, but someone's got an idea what they're going to do with it. Lanterns up here, they put the lanterns, they put that, there was a lantern up here, so that. Some of this things, for the first 10 feet, please be careful that they took the sandstone. After that, you can see the Canadian Garden Club, what's definitely here. Ladies, gentlemen, if you see a plant you like and you want to bring a sample home, by all means.
Oh, great.
If you see something you want. And ironically, 2 weeks ago, all these plants were in full bloom. And it looked beautiful. It looked beautiful. You got to see lights on, and you can walk through the garden at night. And you got your $200 money for it. I spent a lot of time cleaning myself. And as I said, me and one other gentleman spent a lot of time hooking up lights because some of the lights didn't work. These sea lights from the seawall, none of them worked. Took me literally 3.5 hours to get 7 of them to work because the nuts and bolts of them were so rusted. Literally, it took me 15 minutes to unhook the nuts out and get a new light bulb. But the light I pulled the switch, they all went on, and yes, I tried to do 2 of them on the deck, and the seawater has gone up too high on high tide and rotted those out, so I put those lights on, which actually looked better. They went out to the dock, and between these bulb lights and the string lights, it looked phenomenal. Okay, view of the back, your one window in the one room we were in, and voila, 2 balcony windows. There, but not there. You're welcome to go on the deck. It is strong enough. You're welcome to go out to the front of the pier.
Thank you for that reassurance that it's strong enough.
Yeah. And I was here the last couple of nights cleaning up stuff from the after party, and after I got a hot apple cider and sat out on a chair, and lo and behold, 6 dolphins came swimming up and diving around. And so high tide around 6:30, they're here. The Matthews family actually owned this island at one time, but they were so, everybody had a story about this island. Even Mayor Bajowski told me how many times she used to, I'll just say, be on the island. I don't know what was going on that island, but everybody has a memory. So, but I don't say anything. I keep quiet. Anyway, the Matthews was so concerned, so many people using it, they deeded the 2 islands to the state. So the state owns all the sand islands. No, that's it. There's no trapdoor. I looked, nothing. It's just there. That was the staircase that went nowhere, so you can climb around to the pit and get up to it to change the light bulb. There's no trapdoors. Yeah. Right. And again, on the right side where the jacuzzi is, remember I said the glass window dressing room? Those are the 3 balconies that you can't get to right now either, that are on the other side of the jacuzzi. That's where Amaldo Marcos, that's where all his shoes and dresses were. And they blocked off with the mirrors all the balconies.
That's strange.
But you know, again, the dock is staying because if you know anything, the Fenway and the families, as long as the dock is intact and there's piers or pillars in the water, it is not a brand new job. It is a repair job, and so there's no environmental permits needed. It's once you take everything out of the water, you're never going to get another pier. So whatever you leave in there, you're just saying you're fixing. That's why at the Fenway Hotel you see the pier, the broken pier, them sticking out of the water. Because when they fix it, it's not permitting. It's just a repair job. They avoid a lot of the environmental impact fees.
This is perfect. That's my favorite park right there. Because of the view. There, like 2 houses down from it.
Oh, weird.
Just the wall.
And you would sit on it, someone would take the chain and lower it, unhook the chains, and off you went. One side is the dock is for docking your boat and raising it up. The other one was for arriving boats that could just dock up there and walk up to the dock. Yep.
And I couldn't figure out what the trap
The
was.
jet ski. Jet ski. But I have to say, you know, when it's all over and done, it was an amazing event. It did help the museum. It will help projects for the museum, and I am grateful to the Wink family for what they did for saving at least some other buildings that the museum can save for the future. Because the chapel is very important to us. It does bring in revenue for weddings, and the doors are in horrible shape, and we want to restore them to fit the 1880s period. And it doesn't come cheap, that wood. That's hard yellow pine wood, and it's expensive, and the wood has to be carved to have the same shape as that. So it's going to cost a pretty penny. And then Ralph's house on Welke Street is just not disrepair, but just needs upkeep, and so some of the money will go to that. so we're glad. The one final thing, and you're welcome to walk around this site, take photos, or stay on the pier for a little bit. I'm not in a rush, but if you like the tour, and it would really help me because actually some cruel people wrote some nasty things yesterday about the tour. I think they were just upset that there was banging going on and noise, but if you think you had a good time and you have 5 minutes on our website or on our Facebook, if you did like the tour, just make a comment saying how much you enjoyed it. And I would really appreciate that because I want to kind of counterbalance that negativism of what someone thought about it. I mean, I did my best to keep it in there, but someone just had to put on some nasty things.
There's always a Mrs. Kravitz.
Yep.
Yeah. You can't win all the time, and I don't expect to win, but if you enjoyed it and you have the time, put something nice on Facebook.
Oh, this was wonderful.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
And again, I'm only doing this because I want the Needham residents to feel they had a chance to see it.
Yes.
I mean, I could have said, no, sorry, we had the party, it's closed, that's it. I'm spending my week showing everybody that wants to see it and do this.
Yeah, we really appreciate
I'm
that.
doing 3 tours a day till Friday.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Because I looked at the tickets and then I saw the price.
Yeah,
I said, oh,
right.
I guess not.
But that's why I said this is the average tour we do with like Victoria Drive. It's affordable and you see everything that's here.
So if there's a,
What part
if
of
there's a,
Long Island?
Hicksville and Boston. It's a combination of both.
You're all Long Island, believe me.
so if there's a piece
Okay. I grew up as a young boy in Hicksville, and then when I was working for Nassau County Museum, I lived in Roslyn for 10 years. And then I moved down here. So I've been down here 30 years, but it doesn't go away. It always stays. So I wanted to mention this is where the tent was for our event. The jazz band was right up there, and again, I spent hours putting lights everywhere. I painted the green to shine it up, and up above is that glass room. And so maybe before it gets knocked down and we punch out that wall where the mirrors are, we may be able to look out here once again. I don't know. We'll see on that. But that's no wrecking ball. It's going to be done slowly because people have bought columns, people have bought the fireplace. So it's going to slowly be taken down from one end to the other. No wrecking ball.
Starting next week.
No, not that I know of.
Wow.
No.
Maybe they could be held.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's going to be done slowly. And I, again, with demolition and the way things are environmental, I don't know if they have to separate the wood versus stone versus cement. I don't know how they're going to do it, glass.
I know they have to take care of all the hazardous waste.
Oh, and exactly. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Put it out in the air.
No, exactly. That's why I said they're going to have to put plastic up from the basement all the way to the kitchen and then pull it out. Oh yes, this is not going to be a quick and easy knockdown job.
But when does it start officially?
Excuse me?
It's going on now.
Well, I mean, things have been taken out. The actual full demolition will take the beginning of the first year. Yeah. But there are things that still have to remain structurally there, and then those people will have a chance to get the structural items out, like the columns in the main entranceway, those two columns, they're for someone purchased them, but they're structural, so they can't go until that goes. And again, they're taking a chance that when the building goes down, if they go, but you're buying it. I have a list. Please come in and sign it and just say what's the what room.
That's what he's.
Things that weren't. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad we went though.